Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning in. My name's Jimmy McGill, and you are watching the Recovery Clinic. And our message is that people can and do recover, no matter how far down the depths of addiction or mental health you go, there is a way out. And so if you haven't already hit the like button, please do so now. This page, these videos, the postings, they may save the life of you or somebody you know. One thing about it, addiction does not discriminate, right? Like, anybody has the potential to find themselves in that train wreck. And when that happens, you guys need a simple, easy way to reach out. And that's us. Just send us a message. We've got Ashley on the other end of this page, and she's waiting to connect you to resources, treatment, sober living houses, churches, whatever you need, we're here. And so we like to bring you guys a message of hope. And today we've got a solid one. If you don't know about Stephanie Drake, you're going to want to. She is one of my closest friends. I am totally psyched about this show. Stephanie's going to come in here in just a sec, and she's going to talk with us about how she struggled with everything from foster care to substance use and how she persevered through that and where she's at today. And so it's going to be an exciting day, Stephanie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Yay.
So talk to me. What's going on with Stephanie?
Well, actually today I have 18 years, 9 months, and 22 days.
That's a lot of time,
Yeah.
but hey, who's counting, right?
Right. And I've had the same sponsor for 18 years, 8 months, and 22 days.
That's a long time.
Yeah,
So
same
you,
sponsor.
you don't look old enough to have 20 years of recovery. Let me just say
Well,
that.
I have it's not 20 yet.
Well, if you
My
round it
son
off,
will
I
be
get it.
20 next month,
Yeah.
in July.
20-year-old son.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Check
Army
that.
soldier.
Army. Yeah. Well,
Yes.
thank you, Skylar, for your service,
Yes.
for sure. So let's dive into this. Stephanie Drake.
That's me.
Okay. 18 years, 9 months, 22 days
Yeah.
sober.
Yeah.
Where did that journey start?
Okay.
What's Stephanie's story?
Well, I was born to a 16-year-old addicted teenager, basically. And by the age of 2, I was already in foster care. And then they gave me back to my mother, and she had 2 more kids. My sister on my birthday, and my brother just a year later. So she had 3 kids by the age of 20 in the full throes of her addiction already.
All right.
Yeah.
Teenage
So,
mom
Yeah,
trying to raise a baby.
3.
3 babies. So yeah, that's pretty hardcore, you know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
You got a baby trying to raise multiple babies.
Yeah, she had DHS in her life from early on,
Yeah.
from whenever I was little.
So, yeah.
I was in 5 foster homes. Now whenever I was out in my addiction, that number grew. I thought I was in 13. But when I got really honest with I think I wanted people to feel sorry for me.
Yeah, it's funny how we create this
We do.
fantasy story.
It gets bigger and bigger.
I heard a guy one time sharing about how he was speaking at a place I worked, and he was talking about how he was doing an inventory, a past 4-step inventory on himself, and he's like, and man, I was riding in a Trans Am that I'd bought, and he's like, wait a minute, I ain't never had a Trans Am. You know, like, we create these fantasies.
Yes, we do, and we believe them. You
Yeah.
know, we believe the lie. So, I was adopted whenever I was in it was April of '84, and I was 7. My little sister was 4, and adopted by a good family,
Yeah.
really good family. But some
Cool.
bad things happened to me when I was in child care, in the foster care. You know,
Yeah.
I was molested,
Yeah.
and I was living in survivor mode at the age of 7. I was
Yeah.
already in survivor mode,
So-
manipulating, lying.
At 7 years old, you've already been exposed to more childhood traumatic events than most adults would ever
Yes.
see in a lifetime.
Yes. Yes.
That sucks.
Yes. I saw my mother using drugs, having relationships, many relationships.
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
never good.
No,
That's never good.
no, it's not. And so I didn't know how to be a kid. I did not know how to be a child.
Yeah.
And so I didn't trust anyone. And although my family, my adopted family, are very loving, I love them, they're good Christian people, I didn't know how to accept that love, and I didn't know how to let them in.
Yeah, you couldn't even take a compliment.
No. I mean, my only focus in this life was to find my biological mother. It was.
Who was a wreck.
Yes,
Right.
yes. I thought that we got stolen from her, basically. You know, like the system took me from her.
Childhood
Yeah.
perception, yeah.
Yes, and my perception was warped all those years.
Yeah.
You know, even in high school, I started a lot of things, but I never finished them. I didn't
Yeah.
know, I had all the isms before I ever picked up the drugs or the alcohol.
You know, something you just said that is really powerful, right? Like as a parent, you are the most influential relationship you're going to have with your children. And so your perception is that you were stolen from your mother, and your perception is shaped by the lifestyle you're rooted in being brought up in by your mother. And it reminds me, you know, people that grew up in our generation, you know, we're 80s babies, you know what I mean? So we grow up, we didn't have to wear seatbelts, right? And our parents would be like, there's the law, put your seatbelt on. And so something that simple plants a seed
Yes,
that law is the enemy and we need to
Yes.
fear them.
yes.
And then when anything happens
Anything
involving law,
authority.
anything comes behind that seatbelt seed can be reinforced. So when you went to foster care, now you're reinforced that the system is against you.
The people.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's powerful, Stephanie.
It is. And, you know, I started all those things and never finished them. I was a failure. Everything I did. And I didn't have any actions that counteracted me being a failure.
Right.
You know, I always started and stopped and started and stopped. So my first geographical cure was joining the Army. You know, I wanted to get away
So when did the drug use start? Before or after the Army?
in the Army.
In the Army? Okay, so your solution became your problem.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I can dig it. I can
Yeah.
relate.
I was not a good soldier. You know, I took that oath and I went away and, you know, I was in basic training. I had different drill sergeants every 2 weeks. Plus we were the first co-ed unit at South Carolina in Fort Jackson. But I was not a good soldier. You know, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't hang. I drank too much, way too much.
Right.
You know, and then I started smoking weed in the Army.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I got out. I got an honorable discharge. But for the next 7 years, I fed my addiction. That's
Now,
where it started.
Was that a common culture in
not,
the Army
not
at that time?
The drinking, yes.
The drinking.
Absolutely, the drinking. I mean, they would look at your ID and anywhere you went and just serve you. If you were in the military, they were serving you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after a hard day of running, push-ups, boot camp, PTs.
Classes.
Yeah.
I never made it past AIT.
Okay. So
I was not a good soldier, I'm telling you.
Okay. So way to the bar you were at?
Yeah. The mini
Okay.
mall. We played spades and drank beer. all
Oh,
the time.
Lord. Well, boy, that's not, yeah, that's a different kind of military training. That's training for addiction right there. Okay, so we go through the Army, then where we're at.
Yeah, so I stayed in San Antonio. I didn't come home. And I moved to Louisiana, I moved to Georgia, I came back to Arkansas. Well, I went to Louisiana after I came back to Arkansas. I went to Louisiana one night for 2 years. Like, I went to visit a friend of mine. Yeah, I went, yeah, and I stayed 2 years. I left my car on the side of the road because it quit running. You know, I think my dad lost his driver's license for a year over that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, you know, I came back to Arkansas and, you know, a couple more years of my addiction, 2 DWIs. I never really had the law in my life except for the DWIs. And I spent 6 days in jail for some bounce checks in Louisiana. So, you know, and that's
Yeah.
not because I wasn't breaking the law. I should have, yeah.
Yeah, I get
Yeah.
it.
God's grace, right?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you feed your addiction for 7 years and you're state hopping. Mm-hmm. And so somewhere along this line.
But everywhere I went, there I was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I get it. You're never lost.
Right.
Right. So, biological mom.
Okay, first let me say that I got pregnant with Skylar.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a result of my addiction, right? So I was working at Baptist Hospital. They called me Trouble whenever they hired me, right?
Right, that's your nickname.
Yeah, that's my nickname because I was up at Smitty's. That was
Okay.
West End was Smitty's then. Yes, way back when. And when I got pregnant, they called me Double Trouble.
Okay. Double trouble.
Yeah, so when Skylar was about 10 months old, I had my mother's name, her birth date, I got her social security number, a friend of mine ran all the information, we got her last 10 years of addresses, and high as a kite one night, I'd had this for months, this group of papers, and she had the same landlord, the last 2 addresses. So I wrote that landlord a letter. Within 2 weeks, I had a letter from my mother.
Yeah.
It had been 21 years since I'd talked to her.
It's a long time, man.
Yeah, it is. And so she moved here. I was living in a condemned house with my 10-month-old infant son, and she moved here, and the first night that she got here, we got loaded together. We got high together.
How old were you then?
24.
24. So
25.
you're in the groups of addiction. We have been in and out of foster care. Your perception has always been that mom was taken from you,
Yes.
right? Like, no one's responsible for these actions but the system itself.
I put her on a pedestal for years.
Right. You get adopted by a solid Christian family.
Mm-hmm.
But along these lines, in process previous, you experienced some childhood trauma that should have destroyed you, should have shattered you for the rest of your life. You persevere through that. You haven't processed this trauma. You end up going in the military, experiencing alcohol and marijuana, discharge, stay in the state, and don't come home.
Yeah.
And you spend the next 7 years getting loaded.
Yeah.
Along this line, Stephanie plays private investigator, comes up with paperwork on mom. So the military training benefit is somewhere. We're going to track them down. And one night, high as a kite, you decide to write a tweaked out letter to a landlord.
Pictures of me too, and she thought it was a picture of herself.
I got a picture of Stephanie right here too. You guys cannot see this, but trust me, y'all seen The Walking Dead? like not the face, but the rest of the body. Like
I was a skeleton.
Yeah, you're a zombie. At this point in your life, you're living for the flesh. Like that's all that you're doing is you're chasing whatever you need to change the way you feel. And there's this void in you that you can't seem to fill.
No.
And you get a letter back from mom. It's 2002. I don't know why I said it like that. And mom comes, same day you and mom are reunited, you guys are high together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I used to think
That's a book.
But I used to think if my son ever got high, I wanted him to do it at home with me. Now, in my right mind, I never want my child on drugs. Ever.
But the mind of addiction.
Man, I wanted to try it first so I knew it was okay for him.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Let me try that, make sure you ain't going to hurt yourself.
I don't want to try the stuff they're out there doing today, though.
No,
it's killing
you don't.
people.
I heard a woman in recovery, and you know her. She came and spoke one time at the Prescription Drug Summit that we do. It's a big conference, 1,500 people every year. And she said her grandmother overdosed on heroin, and her first thought was to go find it because she wanted that dope that killed her grandmother. And she went over there and looked for it.
Now, see, my biological mother was a heroin addict for 25 years. She lived in California.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was kind of scary, but that's way before, 2002 is way before heroin ever hit Arkansas. And, I mean, she had craters where she had abscesses, where she'd shot up with gutter water,
Yeah.
Just terrible.
I get
terrible.
it. I get it.
And I tried for 10 years. Now, her being back in my life and her keeping my son every other day and her trying to be a mom to my child, it made me mad. It made me angry. But it also allowed me to go deeper into my addiction, which I started putting a needle. I was an IV drug user at the end. So, I will say that it all started out with alcohol, but meth brought me to my knees and I was banging it.
Yeah. So it's so crazy that progressive piece of the disease, right? And so for the viewers watching, if you're trying to wrap your head around what Stephanie said, it started with something that was commonly legal, alcohol,
acceptable, socially acceptable.
Yeah, and it still is. And
Yes.
now the thing is they're making marijuana socially acceptable. They have completely humanized it. It's everywhere. And so now you've got alcohol and marijuana, the two things you just said you started with.
Right.
And then it gets progressive. By the end of your run, you've went from having a drink during PTs to banging 7-gram rocks.
And my adopted mom and I have talked, that I should have had counseling. I should have.
Yeah.
Whenever I was a kid.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with
there's
therapy.
nothing wrong. Actually, I'm about to start therapy.
Dude.
Because I have really deep-seated abandonment issues.
Yes.
That have nothing to do with anything going on in my life currently, but, just a change in attention in my relationships can bring up those hurts and haunts.
Yes. Listen, anyone who has lived through the things that people in recovery live through need therapy.
Yeah.
And let me tell you what, my wife will tell you it is the funnest thing in the world.
Fun?
Fun.
Therapy?
Yes. What addict doesn't want to go talk about themselves for an hour?
I don't know. Me and
It's
Chelsea
fun.
are going to have to
Hey.
talk. I don't think I think her perception may be off.
I'm telling you, the healing, right? Like trauma bleeds into all these
Every
areas
area.
that we don't think.
Yes.
Like, right? Like I can see trauma from my childhood come out in work all the time. You know what I mean?
I think I feed into my children,
Guaranteed.
overly feed into my children because of the lack of the things that parents, the relationships that I think I should have had.
Yeah. Yeah, that childhood drama plants seeds that grow into core beliefs.
Yes.
Core beliefs only get shaken and that foundation gets cracked when a contradictory belief is planted. And so it's like what I was just talking to you about with you growing up thinking the system victimized Stephanie.
Yeah.
Right? That's not the truth. You were a child. Now, you're not responsible for your circumstances or your surroundings, but somebody is.
Right.
And that person.
I didn't have any safe people.
That's exactly right. And that person's negligent responsibility affected your future.
Yes.
And so technically, at that point in your life, you're a victim of circumstance. But as time goes by, you become a volunteer and not a victim.
True.
Right.
Yes, but and we'll get to this later when we talk about Faith Gang. But Faith Gang. I believe that's my mountains that God gave me.
Yeah.
He gave me certain mountains to give me certain experiences to help certain people.
Yeah, you're very qualified to do something very unique that no one else can do.
Yeah.
You can reach a population of women that society deems hard to reach.
Even children.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's good. That's good. So talk to me about your breaking point. You stopped a while ago. You're on your drug of choice. You're an IV drug user. How do we transition from this to this?
There was one night, and this house, this picture that he's holding a picture of, and I was living in a condemned house, condemned by the city. I was
Abandonment.
There was running water, and the guy that owned the house, like, he was giving me money to do renovations, which I was using the money on drugs. I mean, I was conning, manipulating. I mean, you
We
know.
all did it, yeah.
I remember one night in particular, I'm sitting on top of the refrigerator painting the ceiling.
The same spot, like
Painting the ceiling, and I dropped the bucket of paint, and it splashed all over the cabinets. The only good thing in this whole house was the cabinets.
Yeah.
You know, and I left it, and I was just like, I can't do this anymore. But I was sitting on top of the refrigerator painting the ceiling.
What about the rest of the ceiling? How were you going to paint that?
I guess I was going to move the refrigerator.
Going to move the fridge, huh? Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I thought it seemed normal at the time. But, okay, one of the breaking points is I woke up one day and I smelled a dirty diaper. And I was like, who has not changed their kid? And coming to, I don't know how long I had been asleep, but it was my child in the dirty diaper, you know? And realizing that I had become the addict mom and realizing why I got taken from my mother.
Yeah, the generational curse.
You know, it was the moment of clarity that I did not want my son going into child or foster care like I did. And He was a possession. The reason I went to treatment is because he was a possession. Nobody was going to take him from me. But it became about me because I started working steps. Like, I went through Arkansas Cares, and they told me it was going to be a 4 to 6 month program. I said, I'll be out of here in 3. Because I was going in that willing, you know.
Yeah.
And but I was there for 6 months, begging them at the end of 6 months, just keep me 2 more weeks, please, just 2 more weeks. And I think
a good sign.
We need longer term treatment centers.
Absolutely.
You know? It gave me a foundation. I had 2 sponsors before the sponsor I have now. I picked their names off a piece of paper, and that is not the way to pick a sponsor.
Absolutely not.
The woman that I have now, she cried in a meeting. That's why I picked her. I wanted to feel again. I was tired of going through the motions. I wanted to feel.
It's good.
Yeah. So when I asked her to be my sponsor, she said, call me and we'll talk about it. She never told me yes. She has still yet to this day told me yes.
Yeah, you just keep
We've been
calling.
talking about it for a long time.
Yeah.
And I still call my sponsor every single day.
That's good.
Yes.
I try to talk to mine every day too.
Because it's what works for me.
Yeah, it's you know, when it comes to sponsorship, it's I remember in the beginning when it seemed like more of a parole officer than a sponsor, and there was this shift that happened in me, and you may be familiar with it yourself, right? Like, it went from
I have to I want to.
yeah, it went from this, suddenly I realized, wait, this is not a chore, this is a gift.
Yes.
You know, this is a gift. And so my sponsor does what I do, the same exact thing, except he's been doing it for 40 years successfully. Like, and you know, I'm very loud in Arkansas with my recovery work.
No, not you.
He's very loud in every country with
That's
his.
awesome.
Yeah, and so he was so perfect. It was like a God. I don't have your story. I did go through a couple of sponsors, but I had them for multiple years, and but it was different when I got the one I have now.
Right.
When I got him, I knew that that's who God had meant me to be with.
Yes.
And dude, I can only imagine what that relationship would look like in 18 years if I
It's been my
continue to do
longest, healthiest relationship, and every other healthy relationship in my life stems from the one with my sponsor.
That's so good.
Yes.
That's powerful.
And whenever I asked her, she was like, now don't you let me get close to that baby and you run away, you know? And he's about to be 20. He ran away. He went off.
Now
And
he's in the military.
Yes.
And
My
he didn't
son,
pull a Stephanie.
Man, he's so much better than I am. And I am like really grateful to be a part of this journey, you know, a part of his journey, because I raised a good man that's safe with anybody's daughter.
Yeah, he's a solid kid.
Yes, yes. And he helps his mom out, and we get tattoos together. And
Okay, well, you know, he's military.
yes, but he is stationed in Washington. He is a 19 Delta. He's a cavalry scout.
Okay.
And he comes home Sunday on Father's Day.
Dude.
Now, he comes home during the time that I'm supposed to be in church, so I got to make the early service. So I was a little irritated about that, you know. But he was trying to surprise me and get home a day early, because I thought he was coming in Monday, the day of faithing. I mean, my 2 days at church.
Right. I get it.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. Now you screwed the military up. I got to talk about Sky for a minute.
Okay.
Skylar, right? Like, Stephanie screwed the military up. She dropped the ball. Your addiction, doing what we do, like, obviously you were suffering from the disease of addiction before you ever put something in you, right?
Yes.
And so if you're watching and you're unfamiliar with what Stephanie and I are talking about, the concept of the disease of addiction, according to medical research, is a brain disorder that anytime a person uses something that makes them feel good has the potential to become addictive based on dopamines that is released. At that point, it becomes a mental obsession and a physical compulsion, but it's rooted in self-obsession. Me, anything to change the way I feel. Right? And so you are acting out, self-centered, screw the military up. 20 years later, through living right, through living a God-centered life and not a self-centered life, you raise a boy that goes back and fixes your screw up.
Let me tell you, last February, we went to watch the movie 1917.
Yeah.
You know?
It's a good one.
He said, I think I might want to join the military. I took him immediately to a recruiter.
Walk straight out of the movie.
Well, let me tell you, he was not a good student. He withdrew from school. Like, he dropped out of school at 16, and he went to Job Corps. And, you know, he got a trade, and then he went to work at a warehouse and then to Harbor Freight.
Yeah.
But they kept cutting his hours. So, you know, he wanted something different, something long-term, something that he could retire from.
Hey, we both know plenty of people who are living great lives.
Yes.
Because of the military.
Yes.
And I wish I would have went to the military before I went to the prison system.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let me shift lanes.
Okay.
I want to talk to you about, you mentioned meetings a while ago.
Yes.
And sponsorship. So obviously when I hear sponsorship, I associate that with 12-step meetings.
Yes.
Talk to me about that.
Okay, I work one 12-step fellowship, but I go to all the meetings. All the meetings, okay? There's one fellowship that children aren't very much welcome at. You know, there's another fellowship that it is, and my sponsor was never a sponsor that said, you can only go to this, this, and this meeting. You know, she was never like that. She was like, get in where you fit in. You know, go to a meeting. Wherever you find recovery, go to a meeting. You know, so that's what I did. I went to some churches, and I went to this fellowship and that fellowship, and you know,
shake up your recovery like those snow globes.
And I have been in so many different areas that, like, whenever I'm not giving back, or if I'm not getting sponsees or being able to give back, God moved me around. It's a God thing, you know, and I've got to move around. I can't be comfortable wherever I'm at all the time. And, you know, like in the 12-step fellowship, and we talked about relationships earlier too. Like, I've had friendships that have grown and changed, and sometimes you grow past people or just in different directions, and that is uncomfortable and it's sad.
Yeah.
But sometimes you grow and people get mad.
Yeah.
You know, and you'll have lashback or people lashing out at you and stuff. And
Well, so we come in at different places and grow at different paces.
we do, you know, and if we all worked at like a syllabus, if we all recovered, you know, it would be boring. It would be very boring.
I'm grateful for the multiple thousands of different personalities I encounter.
Because collectively, there's nothing we haven't been through.
Yeah, and I like a good challenge. You know what I mean? Like if my heart's in the right place and my motive's in the right place, and there's a combative personality that I'm conflicting with, obviously there's something I need to grow through.
You know, I call those sandpaper people, and they make me practice spiritual principles, and they really shine
Smooth you up.
Yeah.
Let me get you shaved on down there. That's
God,
solid.
please.
It's good stuff. So you've been doing these meetings for 18 years.
The only thing I've done perfect is not use a day at a time. I've had some really some struggles, you know, like I like attention. I do, you know.
Everybody does. Who doesn't?
I've gone to the meetings for the right reasons. I've gone for the wrong reasons, but I will tell you this. My focus has always been my recovery. And if I go to a meeting to find recovery, I will always find it if I'm looking for it.
That's good. That's good. My sponsor is what they call a purist for his fellowship, my fellowship too, but I'm a 12-step worker.
Fellowship.
Yeah, I'm a 12-step guy, but with my schedule, you know, and his ability to identify with having to travel a lot and work late nights. I mean, there's times that my wife and kids don't get to see me very much throughout the week, you know, and then there's weeks when I get to just abundantly be present. And so he says, hey, listen, you get wherever you got to get. If that's all you can get to, you know, and so for me, recovery meetings, self-help groups, those are protein. That's my food.
Right.
And so I can't live without food. And so if you're starving and you're looking for a steak, which is my preferred meat, right? But I can't find my steak, but there's a cookie on the way. Am I going to pass the cookie? You see what I'm saying? Am I going to pass the cookie? just because if I'm starving and there's only one meeting, am I supposed to pass that?
No.
Right, I got to get it. I got to go get it. I got to do what I got to do so I don't get loaded. Because if I get loaded, everybody's in trouble.
Right. So, like, whenever August 25th of 2002, that's my date, you know, like I completely surrendered my addiction, you know, and I still wanted to manage and control all these other things. And I kept recreating and kept, like, patterns. I have patterns with friendships. Like, even if, say a friend relapses, my immediate thing is to withdraw. And then I've got to regroup and kind of feed into myself and try to figure out how I feel about it. But kind of abandoning that situation, it's a defense mechanism. It's from all of the trauma, you know. It's like, this has changed. I don't know where I stand in this, so let me just retreat. Throw up my walls, because this is uncomfortable, you know.
It's good.
So something happened to me last year, and I was broken. I was really broken. And right before that happened, Faith Gang started. And I have to really feed into this. Like, Faith Gang is my lifeline, and it has been. And, you know, whenever I said earlier that I couldn't receive the love from my biological family, even though they were Christians and I didn't know how to accept that. Yeah. Well, once I started feeding myself in the Bible, feeding myself in the Word, now I've got all this time clean, and thought I was happy. Thought I was really, really happy.
You only know what you know, right?
Man, yeah. I was barely surviving. Yeah. Like, I was going through the motions, and I thought I was happy. But I started feeding myself in the Word, and I got back into the church, that church. Yeah. I went to that church 13 years ago.
It's a good church.
And loved that church. My child didn't like that church, so I quit going. You know, I used whatever excuse. And I didn't listen to the Holy Spirit and whatever. But I'm back. Yeah. And started feeding myself in the Word, and decided to get baptized again, make that public profession of faith, right? Yeah. Because this year, I decided I would be a yes woman to God, whatever that looked like. I was going to be a yes woman to God. That's
good.
And He showed up and showed out, and using me. Me and my sponsor were talking about that this morning. Like, I wasn't prepared for how big He was going to use me in this, you know.
Yeah, you can't put God in a box.
Well, I have a little analogy. You know, like, God was in a box for my personal usage, but He's like a jack in the box now. He's out and I'm talking about Him. You know, like, I am not going to be quiet about God. I love Jesus, you know.
There you go. Hey, preach.
Yeah,
I love it.
I do.
So,
I do.
What is Faith Gang?
Faith Gang is a group of people in recovery. Some of us are 12-steppers. Some of us have gone through Christian programs, but we're a group of people in various stages of our recovery that we love Jesus. We're a Christ-centered fellowship. You know, we come together and we have a testimony. We meet on Monday nights at 6 o'clock at that church in Sherwood. And we have a welcome, we have a testimony, and then we have an open discussion group. And we have free childcare. So, you know, that is huge for me because, like, if that fellowship hadn't accepted the whole family, then I wouldn't be here today. You know, I would not. I dragged Skylar to 9 meetings a week when I had a car. When I got a car, I was dragging him to 9 meetings a week.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. It's good stuff. So, you know, the federal government, which is who funds this whole thing that we're doing right now, they consider recovery an ability to live a more productive life than you were living in addiction, right? Like, so, are you living an enhanced life? And so they've spent billions and billions of dollars researching over the decades. And so there's these 4 areas that you have to meet and be solid in order to find recovery. And so a really unique thing is you've talked about multiple different pathways. You've talked about different fellowships and different centers, right, of it, like Christ-centered versus 12-step. And so you have to have community, purpose, health, and home. And if all those areas have a good, solid foundation, then you are living in recovery. They say it's basically impossible, that it doesn't matter
And a lot of times people doing what Ashley and I do, we meet people that are purely in bubbles. They only know what they know and will argue with it till you're blue in the face. And it's very self-righteous, right? Like they're like, this is the only thing to do. You don't, and they'll start quoting their literatures and their traditions. And I'm like, bro, shut up. There's something else they don't have an opinion on. My business. You know what I mean? Like,
Pass my nose, not my
yeah.
business.
And so you see this. You see the healthy physical health, the stable home environment. You found your purpose in giving back to women, and you've got a solid community of like-minded people who want to see you do better. And so if you have those 4 areas covered, whether it's CrossFit, 12-step, church, yoga communities, it doesn't matter. Bicycle. I know people who are in recovery because they ride bicycles
Do
together.
they wear tights?
Tyler, do you wear tights? If you're watching, let me know if you wear tights.
Spandex, whatever you call them.
You know, and they call it Ride for Recovery, and they literally go. They literally
Motorcycles, they do that too.
Oh, see, I don't even know about that.
They're survivors.
Oh yeah. And so they just are a community of like-minded people.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how we're doing on time, but we've ran through everything. Okay. Okay. So let's see. I'd like to take the last 5 minutes or so and let you talk to that camera right there, Stephanie.
That camera?
That camera, the one that says Q script, and I'm going do.
You know, right before we started, they asked me if I had any titles. And, you know, money, property, and prestige have never been really big for me. My focus in recovery was raising, I have a daughter too. I forgot to tell y'all about that.
Parker.
You know, like Parker, she is awesome. I have a son that's in the Army, and I have a little girl, she's 8. And, like, she knows how to be a kid. Like, she is everything that I didn't get to be at her age, and I'm really grateful for that. But my focus and my purpose has been raising children that didn't have to recover from their childhood, you know. And, like, I have a community of people that have fed into my children because I am a single mom, you know, and that's not always easy. But I will tell you, too, that just because I worked on something, just because I've worked through the 12 steps and that I have a community does not mean that I don't have a disease that centers in my brain and wants me miserable. You know, that's why it's called a dis-ease, you know. But I have people, and I have the Word of God, and I have everybody that wants me to succeed, you know, and I just...
It's good.
Man... I can finally receive the love that I was, like, nothing can separate me from God's love, not even my own brain, you know, and I'm so grateful for that because I did not know that I was as loved as I was, you know, all those traumas, all those things that I went through, they serve a purpose.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and if you are struggling, if you need somebody to talk to, don't hesitate to reach out to me too. Like, I am here. My purpose in life is to help other people recover. You know,
That's good.
We do not have to walk through this alone. You don't have to be alone unless you want to be. And I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that you asked me to speak today.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you came.
Yeah.
And so that's what we, in a time when media is just so full of doom and gloom, society, especially social media, need a hope shot. And
yeah, for real.
like, we need happy stories.
Hey, and there's an unfollow and an unblock and a block button too. Like, if your news feed isn't positive, or
block them.
yes, yes, or
Block
even if
'em.
you're watching attention given to other people, you know, like,
Block 'em.
follow it. Don't
Yeah.
watch it.
Yeah, I make videos all the time about.
Oh yeah, I hear you're big on TikTok. I'm not much on the TikTok scene, but
So yeah, I've got a pretty good social media thing, but you know, it's all about positivity, right? Like,
Actions and attitudes.
Yes, dude. I used to want to track down everybody who said something negative about me and find out, why do you feel that way? I used to care. I wanted to make them eat everything they ever said about me. So I worked hard and I dug in and I went the extra mile, Stephanie. But the truth is, today I'm too busy being grateful, living life.
Well,
to care.
listen, just this past weekend, I was with a group of women up at the lake, right? And we had just situation after situation come up.
Yeah.
But the people that I was with, we were in the solution.
Yeah.
And we were just like, okay, well, how are we going to fix this? What is our solution to this? Nothing. We weren't angry about it. We weren't mad about it. Everything just flowed.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. Absolute
good.
actions and attitudes.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love that. So I want to say something before we close. It is my daughter's 13th birthday.
Happy birthday, Katie.
Yeah, and so she couldn't sleep last night. She's got pool parties and go-karts and trampoline stuff popping today, and so I wanted to publicly say happy birthday, babe. I love you.
Sing it.
Yeah, we can sing it. Happy
Happy
birthday
birthday
to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Katie. Happy birthday to you. Now we need a beat to drop right there, Ricky. Can we make a beat drop? Ooh, hey. Listen, we are super stoked that you guys tuned in. Please like, follow, and share the page. If you know anybody struggling, please message us. Let us help you get into treatment. Let us help you get detox, whatever you need. Like, give yourself a break. There's a better way. You don't have to die from the disease, and we get it. Yeah.
And Faith Gang, Monday night, 6 o'clock
Hey, there you go.
at that church in Sherwood.
There you go, right on Kill Avenue. Hey, listen, we love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Next week, I think we have Brett Franks, peer recovery specialist who has worked in a number of different settings and is a hot mess and lived through it. So I can't wait to hear that, and we will see you guys then.